Okay. Fantastic. Wonderful. We're on. Remember, I was telling you about a technique of thinking out, getting people to step outside of their box. Yeah. So the issue is sometimes you wonder, why would someone believe in this? Why would you believe in something like this? What kind of belief system is this? You know. So, for example, believes in transmigration, that you can be a human being. If you don't get enough good karma, you can become a mouse in the next life, or a rat. And then also from rat, you can go back to human again. Oh yeah? So then you ask simple questions just to get people thinking. So one time I asked one person, she says, I'm Buddhist. I said, do you believe in transmigration? You can go from human to rat, rat back to human. She said, yeah, that's my religion. I said, now let me ask you something. I'm not trying to be funny, but what kind of good deeds does a rat do so to make sure in the next life he becomes a human again? And the rat wakes up and says, you know, I shan't steal any cheese today. What does the rat do? So the minute I asked her that question, she said, well, it's not a religion, it's more of a philosophy. Philosophy, 2 seconds ago was a religion, now it's a philosophy. So, yeah, you wonder, like, about how someone can create a god out of his own, with his own hands, and then worship that god. Yeah? Like how the pagans used to do. Create a god and then worship. I made you, and now I'm asking you, protect me, help me. Yeah? Amr ibn al-Jamuh. Okay, let me just get... Or why would someone who's intelligent believe that there are 3 gods that are one? How can 3 things be one? How can 3 things in physically separate places be one thing? One in essence doesn't mean one. If I give you, if I put 3 bottles of water on the table, say how many bottles of water are on the table? You say, well, they're all water and all plastic. So therefore it's just one bottle that it's in front of me. Now I would say, if that's how you think, I would like to borrow 300 of the 100 ringgit bill. Well, I'll just give you 1 back, you know, and then 1 in essence you can, as one guy told me, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. God the Father, the Son, the Spirit, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. First of all, we wouldn't use multiplication. If you loan me $100, I won't give it you just 1, say multiply as much as you like. So the question is then, why would someone be inside, not see something wrong with that? Maybe you've seen that video of the man in the rat temple in India. Yeah? There's a rat temple. I played it at the course, so we don't have time for it now, but it's just a short video. This man, he takes care of rats in the temple, and he believes he's doing very holy work. His family is chosen to take care of these rats who are reincarnated humans, and they're gods, and they eat with the rats, and rats urinate on their head. It's just disgusting. But he thinks he's doing something holy. You see a man with rats on his head. That's all you see. You don't see any of the, oh, nice. And he feels that way, but you don't. You just say, look, you know, you do realize you're just a guy with rats on his head. You need to go take a shower. That's all I see here. A man in need of a shower and another job. That's all I see. But you see other things, other values that you attach to it. How can I get this man, if I traveled to the rat temple, how can I get him to see himself as a man with rats on his head? That's it. You can't unless you get him to step outside of the box. The box being the frame of mind or the framework that they think within. If I can get them to step outside of it, they'll see what's wrong with it. And there are examples of that. Amr ibn al-Jamuh is a companion, and he had an idol made of wood. And first thing when he would wake up, he would go to this idol. His sons became Muslim, and they want him to realize this thing is useless. So they took it and threw it in the trash at night. He woke up, looked everywhere, couldn't find it, found it in a dump with trash. He brought it home. They said he was cleaning it and oiling it again, and he was threatening, by Allah, if I found the one who did this to you, I would do this and do that to him. Then, next night, he goes to bed again. They took it and threw it in the trash. He woke up, found it in the trash, comes back very angry. That night, he puts a sword. This is a grown man, and he's an intelligent man. He put a sword around its neck. He hung a sword around its neck. And he said, if they come to throw you away this night, defend yourself. And he's intelligent. But wait a minute. You have never seen this thing move ever. Yani, it never did this. Never. So why are you expecting it to take the sword off its neck, remove it, and say, come, come? Why? Isn't it strange? It's very strange, and he's intelligent, radiallahu anh. But he was inside the box. When you're inside the box, you can't see what's wrong with what you're doing. When we were small children, we went to Thailand for vacation. And when we were kids, we used to laugh at the, we don't do that, but now as kids now, you can't blame kids. As kids, we used to laugh at people because every store, every restaurant, they have a little god, and it was summer, and they idol, yani. And they have this food in front of this idol, and the food gets dry because it's summer. And they take it and put fresh food, sometimes twice a day. And we used to laugh at them with each other. We'd say, look, and we were like 7. And we'd say, don't they realize that he's not eating and he's never ever eaten? How come they don't ask him, hey, what's wrong, God? I noticed you've never taken a bite in the last 60 years. We used to laugh at them. Is it because 8-year-olds were smarter than these 50-year-olds? No. The 8-year-old was outside the box and the 60-year-old was inside. And because they were inside, they couldn't see what's wrong with what they're doing. If you take the narration of Umar, and I know the narration of him burying his daughter alive, it's a weak narration. But suppose just for the sake of the lesson, if we took the narration of him building the god, the idol out of dates, then he apologizes. I'm so sorry, I have to eat your right foot. Or right leg, then left leg, then right arm, then left arm, then the torso. Then I'm so sorry, but I'm very hungry because he was traveling. That's the only food was this god made of dates. I have to eat your head now. But at the time, he's sincerely apologizing to this idol. And then later on, according to the narration, that would make him laugh. It's funny later on because he's outside the box. So your task is, if someone has a strange belief, or a belief that doesn't make sense, whether it be believing in more than one God, polytheism, Trinity, or any kind of Buddhism or this kind of weird. I've met a Wiccan pagan one time, and she was telling me the weirdest stuff. It's just so weird. What? How could you believe something like this? Yeah. Your job is to get them to step outside of the box. When you step outside of the box, you can see what's wrong with your belief system. You can take another unbiased and analytical look at your belief system. Like maybe some of you, growing up, the teacher will tell you to write something on the board, and while you're writing on the board, you think, I can be a teacher, this is easy. When you sit in your chair, what's wrong with the sentence that you wrote? Have you ever had that before? They don't make you write on the board here? Ever? Ever? Don't you, when there's no teacher, write on the board then? Yeah? And then what, excellent. And then what happens to that sentence? When you sit back in your seat, you see that your sentence was slanting. You thought, oh, I'm a professor now. But you didn't see it slanting. Only when you sit back, when you step out. Those of you who are painters or have ever taken art class, they teach you to step back from your painting, to look at it from afar. And you can see what's wrong with it, the proportions, if something is bent. So this is essentially what you're trying to do. You're trying to get the step and see what's wrong with what they believe. You do that by asking certain questions that get them to question the belief. Now, there's a field of study called rhetorical criticism. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting field. Yeah, and in this field, one of the scholars in this field, he studied something called conversion theory. He studied when people convert from anything to anything. They convert from, Christianity to Islam, or from Judaism to Christianity, or from Republican to being a Democrat, any kind of conversion. And he found there's a step. The first step is common and is there in every type of conversion. And the first step is almost always, the individual will start to doubt their own belief system. And there's no Christian who's walking around with very strong belief and suddenly he's Christian. Always step one, he starts to doubt what he's believing in. When he doubts what he's believing in, he starts to look elsewhere. It's almost always the procedure. I doubt this, then I look, or it could be like I had strong belief and someone gave me something, and a Muslim showed me some verses or something that made me start to doubt. And then when I'm doubting, now I start to explore. Yeah? So that's the of coming with these questions that get people to think outside of the box. Let me see how many I have up here. If not, we might borrow Remi's notes. And by the way, this was a technique that Ibrahim alayhi salam used in Surah Al-Anbiya. So his people went out to the town to have their celebration, and Ibrahim alayhi salam. You wear glasses? Do you wear glasses? Yes. You do? What happened? They broke? Oh, you forgot to bring. Okay. Yeah. He was doing this. To some of you who don't wear glasses, what that means, but if you take off your glasses, you squint or you pull your eye out like this, you see clearer. Yeah. Anyways, just wanted to make sure you were aware of the fact that you need glasses. Yeah. You're like, no, I don't need glasses. Why are you doing this then? So basically, they all went out, and then he went into the town center and destroyed all the little idols and left the big one. When they came back, who did destroy idols? Well, we heard a young man named Ibrahim mention them, so they brought him, almost like a tribunal now. They brought him. Did you do this to our idols, Ibrahim? And who did? And he said, well, ask the big one. He was there. He saw everything. Ask him. So, for them, it made them think that, you know what? The little ones couldn't defend each other. The big one couldn't defend the little ones. And now the weakest point, because maybe you're helpless, right? But even the helpless person can complain later on and cry. Even the most helpless individual will say, Wallah, they came and they destroyed everything and they took everything. He can cry, but he can't even complain. So the next verse, Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. So they turn to themselves. Ibn Kathir says, and others, they say, actually a lot of the Mufassirin say, it means that they blamed themselves for leaving Ibrahim alone with the idols because they heard him mention them before. But in the Tafsir Tubi and Ibn Sa'ad and others, they say that فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ means they turned to themselves and they said, he's right. He's right. These idols are useless. They can't defend each other. We couldn't defend them, and he can't even tell us what's happening. Because in other verses, Ibrahim a.s. says, ask the big one. If he can answer, ask him. So, but of course then later on again they encourage each other upon their kufr and they built the fire, and you know the rest of the story. But the point is, Ibrahim a.s. for a moment got them to step outside the box and realize this makes no sense. Just like the sons of Amr ibn al-Jamuh. So to finish that story, that third night then they take the idol out, throw it in the dumpster. One narration says they tied it to the carcass of a dead dog. And then he came and he stood over it like this, and he basically said, if you cannot push away harm or bring benefit to your own self, how can you do that for me? That event, that third event, got him to step out of the box, and he left that and he became Muslim. Your job, without throwing things in the trash, your job is to get people to step outside of the box, and you do that by asking questions that get people to think. And I'll give you examples of some simple ones. We sat down with some missionaries and we asked them, we started by asking this top question. This is a very easy question. I think all of you can answer this question. Is the Trinity 3 in 1 or 1 in 3, according to Christians? 3 in 1. Sister said it very quickly. That's it. 3 in 1. That's what they say. They've always said 3 in 1. So these were 5 people in the class, in the university, who taught Bible study. That was their job. They just go around campus teaching the Bible. We asked them that question and they couldn't answer it. And they were all thinking. And I told them, the brother with me, I just told him, just be quiet. We're going to sit out this awkwardness. We're going to sit it out. Let them just sit awkwardly, thinking. Then in the end, we had to give them the answer. Of course you believe it's 3 in 1, because if you believe 1 in 3, you're admitting to worshiping 3 different gods. And then suddenly they all looked up, yes, of course. Why did it take them so long? Because they never thought about that. What they were thinking all this time, 3 in 1 means 2, 3 in 1. 1 in 3 would mean 1, 2, 3. They never thought about it. Yeah? How many gods were there during the 3 days when Jesus was dead? Jesus, according to the gospel, died for 3 days. During these 3 days, how many gods were there? Still 3? Or 2? Or still 1? Either way you say it, there's a problem. Because if you say still 3, that means he didn't die, he was still there, and he went up to the heavens. No. Your gospel said he will be resurrected on the 3rd day. So he wasn't there. So we said 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals, and they'll tell you 1. And now 1 is gone, so 1 plus 1 equals, and they'll tell you 1. But while they're telling you all this, they're very embarrassed now, because it's very embarrassing material. Yeah? Then, so what effect did his absence have on the universe? You say they're co-equal. So if 1 is gone, that means 33% of the work wasn't being done. Yeah? So what happened? Did the other gods have to do like extra shift? or something. Seriously. Let me ask you this. If you work at a company and you leave for 1 month and no one notices and work and operation is just the same without you, what should that company do to you? Fire you. You're useless. Yeah? So here, did they do extra work? Or was there no effect when he was gone, and so on and so forth? Kinds of questions that have problems with them. Why, if the Trinity is the most important part of Christian belief, why is there not a single clear verse that mentions Trinity clearly? Our number one message is Tawheed. Every page of the Qur'an has Tawheed in it. Multiple hadith have Tawheed in it. Multiple warnings against shirk. But this is the most important thing in your religion, and you don't have a single clear mention of it. All you have is just vague hints. Doesn't make sense. You're asking all these questions, and you're starting to think something is wrong here. So it always starts with the person, his confidence in his own belief system will begin to crumble in order for him to start to consider others. Can I borrow your book again, Rami? Thank you for coming, by the way. Very useful. Okay, and I'd just like to read some of the arguments that were written by. Hold on a second. These are really good. Other questions like, who died on the cross? Is it a man or a god? If a man died, what's the significance of a man dying on the cross? Why is a regular man's death expiation for everyone's sin and on and on? And if it's a god, what kind of god dies? Either way, you have a problem. Was Adam forgiven for his sin? Or, and sometimes they'll say yes. So you trap them, yeah? So you're getting them to think outside the box. Find out there are many things wrong with what you believe. So we believe, and this is how you trap, yeah? But nicely. By the way, sometimes you can say the strangest, maybe even harshest things to someone, but you say them nicely, politely, and the person will be smiling. Yeah. Said these same things in any other way, there would be a fight. But you can be very polite, yeah? So be very gentle. Like I said, I warned you yesterday, I'm excited now telling you the story, but I don't speak to non-Muslims this way. So be very gently, yeah? So, we said, okay, look, in Islam we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving so long as you repent sincerely. He will forgive any sin you commit. And we believe that Allah is so merciful that when Adam sinned against him, Adam repented and Allah forgave him. Do you believe that Allah forgave Adam when Adam repented? And if they say yes, do you have a problem? And if they say no, they have a problem. If they say no, we'll be like, what kind of God is this? That He cannot forgive even when someone cries and repents. As one Sheikh, he asked some priests, he said, how do you guys forgive? They said, what do you mean? He said, how do you guys forgive when someone does something wrong against you? They said, we just forgive. You don't have a technique or procedure. They said, no, we just forgive. He said, you guys just casually forgive. But God couldn't forgive for thousands of years. He was angry until someone else had to come and die, which isn't saving and it's not forgiving anyways, right? Let's say someone accidentally kills a Muslim. So the family, they have the choice to forgive, right? Or they can have the person killed. So, eye for an eye, or soul for a soul here. So, imagine they have the person killed, and then, whatever scenario where you can forgive or have the person killed, okay? So they have and then when they're talking to their friends, yeah, well, he killed our brother by mistake, but alhamdulillah, we forgave him. You had him killed. Yeah, we forgave him. You didn't forgive him, you had him killed. When someone dies, then you didn't forgive. You got paid back in full. So when you say, God is so forgiving, He had to kill someone who had nothing to do with it in order to forgive you. That's not forgiving, really. But the point is, he has to say yes. If he says no, what kind of God isn't forgiving? And if he says yes, he was forgiven, okay, if he was forgiven, why did Jesus then have to come and die for the sin of Adam if that sin was forgiven? Bam! You're trapped. But one time this guy, he was a bit smart. He said, well, I don't know, it never says in the Bible that Adam asked for forgiveness. And he's right, the Bible doesn't say that. But that's still a problem for him. So you're telling me, this righteous man, this prophet who lived in the heavens in paradise, and he was given so much of blessings and graces of Allah, and he enjoyed all that. Then when he disobeyed Allah, he never once felt bad. He never once repented. He never once asked for forgiveness. And again, they're looking down in shame. Yeah? A polytheist believes in more than one God. So if someone believes in more than one God, I want to show them that this belief doesn't make sense. And remember the story I told you last night at the end about the man who took that page that Remy has? I'm going to make everyone bother you after this class. There's a page that Remy is holding right now. Okay? Everyone's going to ask you for it. Yeah? That page, I kept it. I never changed a single word or dot in it because I used to not teach it. I used to tell the students I'm going to skip the page because you just read it for yourself. And the brother just went home, called his Hindu friend, and read the page from beginning to end. His Hindu friend became Muslim over the phone. And then the guy in Australia did the same thing, and his friend became Muslim over the phone. Basically, the page just throws some arguments at the idea of having more than one God. If someone says, I believe in more than one God, there are multiple things you can do. Number one, ask for the source. The only religious source or book that has no mistake about it, and we know where it came from, and has no mistakes or contradiction, is the Qur'an. So the fact that his book is not the Qur'an, you already know. Even if you don't know the book, you know it has problems with it. You can go down that route. Or you can say, so you're saying whatever. The guy said there's 7 gods. There's 7 gods. Are these gods all equal, or are they not equal? If they're all equal, we have a problem. If they're not equal, we have a problem. Because if they're not equal, which is the stronger one? God number 4 is the strongest one. Well, if he's the strongest one, let's say he has 50% of the muscle. Number 5 has 10% of the muscle. This one has 5%, 4%, whatever. Why would I waste time with this 4% muscle God? Why would I waste time with him? I'll just focus on God number 4, who has 50% of the muscle, and I have a good relationship with him. On the day of judgment, God number 4 is going to, you never worship me, come here. And the God number 4 will say, hey, wait, he's with me, he's okay, I like him. Yeah? So, if one God is stronger than the other, why waste time with the other gods? If they have different jobs, and one God, let's say, is the God of love and mercy, and then the other God is God of anger and war, and okay, I'll just worship this one to please, and the other one. So every way you look at it, you'll find a problem. And that's why one of the scholars, he did a study, Christian, I don't know if we can use that term, but one of the Christian scholars within their field, he did a study, and he found in America that more people love God the Son than God the Father. Why? Because the Father is the angry one who couldn't forgive them, and the Son is the one who loved them so much that he came and put his life on the line. That's why in America, if something good happens to someone, they immediately, thank you, Jesus. Jesus. Everything, Jesus. Praise Jesus. All the time. But you had...
I have a good friend. He says different gods are for different purposes. Like some are for business, some are for family well-being, some are for health.
And you just call them on whatever you have.
Pardon?
You just call them on what? Yeah, some are for business. So I have business.
Okay. God for business.
If I don't have a family, I never call the one for family. Yeah. Yeah. If I don't have a family, then I can never call the one, and I don't have to call the one for families if I don't have a family.
Yeah, because they've got many thousands of gods, so yeah, they all...
Okay, very good. All you have to do is just keep asking questions about this idea that he gave you, because you know it has problems. The way to find problems is to keep asking questions. You don't have to be rude. Just okay, let me understand this then. So these gods, let's say there are 10,000 gods, and some religions have more than that, right? In the millions. So let's say there are 10,000 gods, and in my whole life, I only worship 4. What does that, just keep asking them, what does that mean in your religion? The person goes to paradise or the hellfire? If they say paradise, then what's the value of these other gods? What is 4 out of 1,000? So you tell me you have, 996 absolutely useless gods that have no self-respect, that you can just ignore them and nothing will happen to you. And just keep asking questions about that. So if they're co-equal, all of them, how did they become co-equal? Was there a bigger God that divided their power? Or did they have a meeting and they decided to, okay, God number 2, you're too smart, he's dumb, give him some of your intelligence. You have too much muscle, give him some of that. every way, if you say they're equal, you have a problem. If you say they're not equal, you have a problem. If you say they're equal and they have different jobs, you have a problem. The ones that are not being worshipped, what's the ruling there? What's their value if you can just ignore them? And how bad, how can I mean, if there are 1,000 gods, what can I get away with? Just worshiping one out of the 1,000? Or do I have to at least worship 50% of them? And if they're like 1,000,000, how do I do that even? And just keep asking question after question. And they don't have to be rude questions. So could you help me understand this? I have a question. I'm sorry to keep asking you this, but could you explain to me, how does this work then? And how about on the day of judgment? Oh, there's no day of judgment. Then how, the retribution for sins, remember did we speak about retribution? We didn't. And the point is, keep asking questions to get them to think outside of the box. The thing about, look, we don't have time to go into how to do this technique with every scenario, but the thing about it is that any issue related to da'wah has been answered already. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I want to know how to answer if someone says, why did your Prophet marry a young woman? Aisha radiallahu anha. I don't have to go and research. Just Google it, and someone already did the research for you and gave the arguments for you. Why did the Prophet ﷺ do that? Google it. You have to learn these arguments, and you have to know them well.